the very first thing we talk about is dairy farms. We talk about the farmer and we talk about the cows, because nothing we do in New York State dairy can be talked about without talking about the cows, how we care for them, the employees that care for them. We start with the farm.
Yep.
We say welcome to farm, because nothing we do can happen without starting it right on the farm.
Welcome to Legacy Conversations, recorded right here at the barn on Collimer Road. I'm your host, Mark Modulewski. Our mission, to educate, inspire, and entertain. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to Legacy Conversations, Eileen.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for being here.
Anytime.
I know you're so excited about doing this with me.
Very.
So you said going into this that you're super excited about podcasts because you listen to so many of them. And you're really excited about seeing how this comes out.
I've listened to 0 books on tape. I've listened to 0 podcasts. So we'll see where this goes.
It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. So I know a lot about you. Like, when did we first meet? If you had to think about it, when was it?
2015.
2015. Why do you say that?
Because that's when I started working in New York. That's when I moved
hold
back
on
to
one second. Don't go anywhere.
You're turning on more bright lights. I turned that one off for you. I turned that one off. No, I wouldn't know what I'm doing. Oh. Okay. I feel like I'm on the beaches of Florida right now. I feel like I'm tanning bed.
I know. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so where were we? You and I met in 2015.
Yes.
How do you come up with that?
Because that is the year I moved back to New York and started working in animal agriculture.
Really? So it's been 10 years in 2025, 10 years next year.
Yes.
So I met you the year in which you moved back.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't think I knew you before that.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
So you grew up did you grow up in Penn Yan?
I grew up in Penn Yan on a dairy farm with my family. And
Skip and Jen?
Skip and Jennifer.
Yeah. And you have two
I have 2 sisters. I'm a middle kid. I'm the reason people have rules in our family.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So my lovely bride is a middle child, and I can understand. I understand.
They're the favorites.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's one of the ways to look at
Mm-hmm.
it. So you grew up on a dairy farm in Penn Yan, went to school. Were you Penn Yan?
Penn Yan Academy.
Penn Yan Academy grad.
Class of 2003.
Class 2003, and then what? Where'd you go?
Oh, you want the roller coaster, don't you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a roller coaster.
Okay. So I was a senior in high school, and I wanted to be a sports journalist. So I was the very first student in my class to apply to a college, get accepted, and send the deposit, all before Christmas of senior year.
Cool.
So I went to Penn State University.
Penn State.
State.
Like the big one.
I went to a satellite campus
Okay.
with the hope of going to the big one,
Yep.
State College, after a year. And I lasted 2 weeks at Penn State until I was miserable. I missed the farm.
Just didn't.
I missed small town USA. I missed home. I missed just where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
So I stuck it out for a semester, and then I moved back to New York, went to a state school, and went back into ag.
A state school,
Mm-hmm.
which was
SUNY Cobleskill.
SUNY Cobleskill. Go Cobleskill.
Yeah,
There's
fighting
quite the
tigers.
rivalry between Cobleskill, Morrisville, Cornell, all those agricultural school.
And Morrisville.
And
no thanks.
Yeah.
Cornell, no thanks.
Yeah, we don't like those
No.
people. Wrong color.
Stick
like
with Phoebe.
orange.
Stick with Phoebe.
Yeah, gotcha. So you finish Cobleskill. And
Yes.
what did you major in?
Agricultural business.
Okay.
I got my 4-year degree there with the intent of going to Cornell. for my master's, which I did, to teach high school agriculture.
An ag teacher.
I was going to be an ag teacher.
Yeah.
So when I started at Penn State, I wanted nothing to do with agriculture because that's what I had done my whole life. And I wanted nothing to do with teaching because that's what my mom did. Fast forward 4 years and I wanted to be an ag teacher.
I wanted to do exactly that. Yeah.
I lasted a year teaching high school.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a special person to be a high school teacher, and I am not it.
It takes a special person to be a teacher.
Correct.
So you have to have the right mindset.
And it's not me. Nope.
Yeah.
Not having
Hard. It's a hard thing.
Not having it. I felt like I was boxed into a classroom. And so for me, I needed experience. I needed to go see the world. I needed to just leave New York.
Right.
And hit the road. I needed to get out of here, see what the world had to offer.
So you left.
I left.
West.
I traveled the country.
Traveled the country.
For a year. I was based out of St. Louis, Missouri. My company was, and I traveled the country, got my Class A CDL license, and traveled the country talking to people about agriculture, technology in agriculture, crop production, what farmers do on farms. And I did that for 13 months. I had no home. I was living out of a suitcase. Holiday Inns were home. I perfected meals out of a microwave in a hotel room and decided it was time to grow up a little, settle down. And so then I lived in St. Louis. I love that city. So I moved there and lived there for about 6 years after I traveled the country.
And for people who don't know you, you're a big sports fan. And St. Louis, there's a team in St. Louis.
Yeah. Growing up in New York, where I did in the Finger Lakes, I didn't care for baseball. I thought baseball was really boring. I didn't cheer for any local teams, New York teams, anything like that. But when I lived in St. Louis, I worked 2 blocks from the stadium and fell in love with baseball. Mm-hmm. And I am now an avid baseball St. Louis Cardinals fan. Fell in love with them. Had the chance to go to the World Series. Went to the playoff games, went to the World Series game. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That's fun. So you're in St. Louis. You're there for a little while. You got your Class A, which is something you and I have in common.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you had this job where you got to you had the ability to teach, but not in a classroom.
Correct.
And you had the ability to talk about agriculture, which is something you love and were passionate about. And then you did that. You had a couple other little things going on, and then you moved back to New York.
Yeah, I tried teaching again. Realized, nope, it is me. It's not them, me. And left that. And then I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a year and worked for Case IH Equipment, learning all about high horsepower equipment. Not my forte, but I loved my job.
Because you weren't a tractor girl. You
was
were
not a tractor girl.
An animal
Give
girl.
me animals all day.
Yeah.
And then I was not looking for a job. I was really happy with my clients and who I was working for. And this opportunity came up back here in New York. About 3 or 4 people sent it to me 10 years ago right now, right around Christmas time, and said, Eileen, it's your dream job. You got to take it. You got to take it. And I was like, nope, I'm happy. Love my job. I don't want to move home. And fast forward 4 months, and I had applied, interviewed, and accepted the job to move back home.
Isn't that crazy?
And do exactly what I was trying not to do 15 years ago.
Right.
And and it's been great ever since.
Yeah. So you work for?
So I work for the New York Animal Agriculture Coalition, also known as NYAAC. NYAAC.
And I probably met you. Well, not probably. I did meet you through NYAAC.
Yes.
And NYAAC, what does NYAAC do for the most part? Give me this summary.
The summary of NYAAC is we are a non-for-profit organization that helps people understand and appreciate animal agriculture. We do that through a variety of ways to help provide farmers the resources and the time to do more in their communities, to open their barn doors and reach out to consumers of their products.
Right. Okay, so we're going to talk about NYAAC in a second, but I wanted to go back. So you're there in St. Louis. I'm going to become this avid Cardinals fan, right? There's like 6 or 8 of those people around.
There's a few.
There's a few. And then you move back. Now you're home. I am not going to be a teacher. I'm not going to be in agriculture, and I'm probably not coming home. And all that stuff comes back.
Yeah.
And you get to be close to one of your biggest passions.
Yeah.
Right? So there's another sports team that you follow.
Love it.
A little bit. Which is who?
I'm a beloved Buffalo Bills fan.
Beloved.
And I will, and I have traveled the country following them.
Yeah. What's one of your goals with the Bills? Share with me your goals to see.
The number one goal is I want to see a Bills game, not just any NFL game, a Bills game in every stadium in the country.
Yeah, which is cool. And how far along are you?
Stadium 10 was knocked off this year.
Cool.
So not quite halfway, but we're making progress.
We're getting close.
Getting close.
You and I had the opportunity to check one off the list a couple of years ago. And hopefully next year we'll do another.
Hopefully.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Try to do one a year.
Yep.
Usually road trip it with my sister sometimes. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bills is a big part of your life. It's a big part of
is.
the weekends in the fall, for
It
sure.
is.
Things revolve around that.
Yes. Do not plan anything on Sundays from Labor Day till Christmas.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully
through January and February. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fingers
That's cool.
crossed.
Yeah. Okay. So on the weekends, we know what Eileen does. It's baseball and football.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the other hobbies that you do?
I knew you were going to ask me this one.
Because to me, it's super unique, right?
You mean that I'm an old soul and I love quilting?
That you're under 70 years old and you quilt for a hobby. Yes, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're a quilter.
I am.
And my experience with quilts is grandma or grandpa would give them to us, either passed down or let me show you something. But I had no idea that quilting was such a thing. Like you were telling me there's conferences and there's patterns and there's all of this stuff that goes into it.
So my grandmothers, both my grandmothers, were seamstress, quilters. They would make clothes and wedding dresses and some quilts, and they would knit and crochet and cross stitch and all those fancy things.
Yeah.
So similar to my work experience, I wanted to do one thing that was totally out of the norm, and I said, I'm never going to be a quilter.
No.
It's what my grandmas do. It's what my sisters do. My mom does. Like, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Forget it. It was the cause of a lot of heartache, tears, and anxiety growing up, working with my mom, trying to quilt or make 4-H projects. Awful. I was a terrible kid when it comes to that. Fast forward to I'm living on my own. Need to fill some time, need to have a little bit of stress relief from work or life or whatever it might be. And I started sewing. So, birthday presents include got a new sewing machine. Christmas presents include we get fabric or new patterns. So my house is equipped with tons and tons of quilts all over the place.
Rumor is that there's like a quilting room. Like there's a room that one goes to.
I own a 3-bedroom house.
Yes.
And the largest bedroom is my quilting room.
Not the room you sleep in.
No. The largest bedroom is the quilting room.
Uh-huh.
It's the most organized and the most disorganized at the same time, but I know where everything is. There are hundreds of patterns. There's fabric everywhere.
Yeah.
When I travel too, I have to go to a quilt shop.
Yep.
When I travel to get fabric, I don't have an idea or a project to do, but I gotta buy fabric. Okay. Everyone has an addiction.
There's no doubt about it.
Mine's fabric.
Right. Your addiction is fabric. Yeah. Some people it's chocolate. Some people it's bad things, and yours is patterns.
It's fabric.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. So there's so we know that you love baseball. We know that we love the Bills. We know that you are a quilter, right? Someone who likes to quilt. And then there's another passion that I think you and I share a little bit. And what's that?
Traveling the world.
Traveling the world. So tell me about what's the best place you've been to, and what's the place that you feel like, man, that's a place I really want to get to, besides everywhere.
I've been everywhere. I'd like to go everywhere. So I started traveling, obviously, with my work when I left the teaching job way back when. Traveled the country, and that was the first kind of big experience was on my own traveling. I did some travel in college through some field studies trips. We went to a couple places in the U.S., and then we went to Germany, Amsterdam, and that was first international experience. For me, it opens my eyes and makes me appreciate home a lot more when I can see cultures from other countries, how other people live, the diversity, the food, the entertainment. I've been to Africa a few times, and I would go back to Africa in a heartbeat.
And everybody thinks it's a country, it's a continent. It's so big.
And I've been to Egypt once, been to Morocco twice, been to Kenya. I would go back to Kenya tomorrow if I could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
fantastic
Yeah,
country.
I love the traveling part because you get to see things new experiences, new cultures, new people. Kind of feel like no matter where you go, there's places that you don't really want to hang out, but there's always places you do, and you always learn from both experiences.
And every place I've gone, I've never gone by myself. I've always gone with a group. And so we will sometimes tackle those challenging places as well, just so we can experience them. One of them was the slums of Kibera in Kenya.
Yeah.
And for me, never ever would have gone there on my own, but to see how the Kenyans live, how the kids are raised, how they're growing up, makes you appreciate life a lot more.
It's so interesting, right? Because I've spent a little bit of time in Africa as well. And when you go there, there are still people who are living like they did, like literally 500 years ago, like thatched room houses and mud huts, and they're living in communities and walking for water on a daily basis.
Yeah, when you're seeing the donkeys being led down the road, carrying the gallons of water just to brush your teeth, which you might do once a week.
Right. Well, and like cows and goats are currency.
Yes.
And we're talking like in the US, we're talking about crypto and gold and like, do I even carry cash or should I have a checkbook? And there it's like, well, you know, do you have a cow or two or three?
Yeah.
And people think it's like we're being funny, but it's not. It's like true.
No, it's true. And that is your status as well as what kind of animal, how many animals, where you live. And it's just, it's eye-opening. Same in Morocco. Morocco is the same way when we went to different parts of that country. It's very labeled by status of, you know, not necessarily how much money you have, but what's your worth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love the traveling piece. I like you said, it makes you appreciate home, but I think it gives you just this perspective. So in your everyday life and your everyday work, you can realize that, things don't always go great, but not that bad.
Home's not so bad.
It's not so bad. And, you know, the other part that I think is pretty interesting is whenever you start to feel stressed about something, you can just think back about all those other places. And nobody in Morocco on your best day is saying, I hope Eileen's having a great day. And on your worst day is like, man, I hope she's having a better day. They don't even, I don't want to say they don't care, but the world's a big place.
It is.
And we like take all that stuff in sometimes and say, I feel so bad, but it's real. We're just like such a small piece. And if you don't get out of Penn or Rochester or Syracuse or Buffalo, it's hard to kind of see that.
You're in your box, just like I was in that classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Just wasn't good. Okay. So talking about your classroom. So your classroom went from traveling the country and people would come to see you or you'd go to events. You move back here, you take this job with the New York Animal Agriculture Coalition. The executive director, who was a really good friend of yours and like a mentor of yours, she decides to spend more time with her family, right? So you interview for this job, and now you're the director of this organization. So now you're teaching and advocating for a living in agriculture across the state.
100%. So I took that classroom that I had way back when I was this young college graduate, where I felt confined to classroom walls, and just tore down the walls.
Yeah.
So I really focus my career in communications and marketing. And I think that that's exactly what education is.
Yeah.
No matter where you're a teacher or how you're an educator, I think communications is education. You're trying to help people understand the topic at hand.
Right. Yeah, it's like that saying, like, everyone's selling something. You know, whether you're a doctor or an attorney or whatever, it's like we're all marketing, we're all communicating, we're all talking, we're all building relationships. What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is the people that I work for.
The people you work for.
So I work for New York dairy farmers and New York hog farmers and poultry farmers. Anyone involved in animal agriculture, I consider them my boss. The reason I took the job that I have today is to help the farmers that helped me get to here where I am today.
Yeah.
And so the best part is that it's my opportunity to give back. It's my opportunity to support them, to work alongside them, to help them make a living.
Right. So like advocating for agriculture and for people is like, it's a hard job. And some people wouldn't even know that that is a job, but like it's a full-time job.
The hardest part of my job is that you don't get instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see impact right away.
Yeah.
You don't see results right away. Changing someone's perception takes time.
Yeah.
It takes talent. It takes building relationships. It takes skills that you just don't build overnight. And
patience. It takes a lot of patience and perseverance.
Absolutely. The hardest part of my job is waiting for results.
Yeah.
But when those happen, pretty cool.
Yeah. So when I think of NYAAC, and full disclosure, right? I sit on the NYAAC board, so I know a little bit about it. I feel like NYAAC does three main things, right? So we've got this issues team, which you can help explain to me.
Mm-hmm.
We do this little thing at the New York State Fair every
Mm-hmm.
year called the Dairy Cow Birthing Center. And we have this new project, which is pretty cool. We call it MDE. It's the Mobile Dairy Experience. So tell me about this issues team piece that you're part of.
So NYAAC started 21 years ago. We were not a non-for-profit. We did not have a board of directors. We were a committee of different organizations here in New York State supporting agriculture. A group of farmers came together and said, we need an organization that's focused on positive outcomes, positive promotion of agriculture. And so they created NYAAC. When NYAAC started, about 80 to 90% of the work we did was in a reactive manner. Today, it's totally flip-flopped, 180 degrees. So about 80 to 90% of the work we do is proactive. We're not reacting to negative stories, to accidents, to protesters or activists. However, we know it's never going to be 100%.
Sure.
So as a result of that, we created the New York Dairy Issues team. There's 4 representatives on that team from 4 different agriculture organizations in the state. We come together when issues arise. We try to still be proactive and provide dairy farmers, time and resources to continue to be successful in their business on their farm. But we will face challenging situations. We will face crisis. We will help farmers get through the crisis when and if it happens on their farm. We come together as a team and we tackle that with them, right alongside them.
So it's NYAAC, NEDPA, which is the Northeast Dairy Producers Association, Farm Bureau, and
American Dairy Association.
American Dairy
Northeast.
Northeast, sometimes called ADAME, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So all 4 organizations are either 100% focused on dairy or have a very strong connection to dairy because of their membership.
Yeah, and most people I think know this, but New York's number one agricultural commodity is milk, right? So there's a lot of dairy cows, and with dairy cows comes feed, but also comes manure, which also comes milk. And
it's a cycle.
It's a big cycle, right? And there's beef and there's all that type of stuff that it goes with it. But when you have a lot of cows, when you have 50, 60,000 cows in a county, sometimes there's some challenges with the neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away.
No. But realistically, I think you and I would say, like when you work with farmers, the vast majority of them, 99% of them, are trying to do what's best for the land, for the animals, for the community. Probably more than anyone else, right? In any other community.
I agree. And that is why working with farmers is the best part of my job. The best part of my job is working with them because they strive every day to take care of the people that they work with or on their farm, the land they live on, and the animals that they raise.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so funny when sometimes agriculturalists get pinned that they're doing bad things for the land, right? They're polluting the lake or they're polluting the streams or they're cutting down trees. But realistically, those men and women are spending their entire lives and their entire career to make sure what they do is sustainable from generation to generation. Whereas the average person like me, I mow the grass, right? I recycle my plastic bottles and hope that I'm doing something. But the person who's selling and managing their woods for timber and they're making sure that there's the proper application so the soils are proper to grow crops and rotating them year after year after year, those are the folks who are really the environmentalists.
And as a homeowner, you are recycling for a reason. You're mowing your grass for a reason. Everything you do at your home is for a reason. It's the same exact thing on a farm.
Yeah.
The choices the farmers make is for a reason.
Right.
The challenging part is helping everyone else understand the why behind what they're doing. And farmers want to be part of the solution. They are part of the solution to the challenges that people are facing in communities across the state.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard, right? Because there's a little bit of, I like what you do. I just don't want it to be in my backyard, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
Keep doing it, but don't do it here.
But don't do it here, right? It's like, I like ice cream, but I don't like this. You know, I like cheese, or I eat cheese on everything, but I don't want you to do this to the animals or et cetera.
Well, I heard one time, maybe it was a bumper sticker that said, you know, don't talk bad about farmers with your mouth full.
Yeah.
You know, you have clothing on your back, you have food on your table, you have gas in your car.
Right.
And you're talking bad about farmers.
Yeah. I mean,
not
it's more than
understanding
just,
where all that stuff comes from.
Right. It's more than just no farms, no food.
It's
right. It's everything. It's food and fabric for human consumption and use.
It's quilting.
It's quilting.
It's fabric.
It all comes back to quilting.
It's the pigskin that they're throwing around the football field.
Right.
It's the quilts. It's everything.
Yeah. It's the leather on the baseball. It's everything.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It's pretty neat. So the next big project, which is the one that I started to have when I really got involved with NYAAC, the passion was for the Dairy Cow Birthing Center. So there's this little thing called the Great New York State Fair, which I think is the second largest fair in the country. Possibly somewhere around there.
Second largest state fair.
Yes,
maybe?
state
like
fair.
Yep.
Texas, I think, runs for almost a month, so they kind of get us there. But the New York State Fair is huge. It's in August every year, and we have this little exhibit called the Dairy Cow Birthing Center, which has been there for 12 years going on.
Going on 12.
Going on 12 years. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people that run through it. Tell me about the Dairy Cow Birthing Center.
Okay. So if you rewind 12 years ago, our executive director at the time wanted to...
Jessica, we can say her name.
Okay. Jessica, our executive director. Jessica Zim had gone to college in Virginia Tech, and she had seen this exhibit. She'd seen something like this in Virginia and said, we can do this in New York. Yeah. And she became the executive director for NYAAC and had an incredibly supportive board that took a risk, took a chance. And we are 12 years running. This exhibit continues to draw new people every year in person from afar. And our main goal, just like NYAAC's, is to help people understand New York dairy farming, where their dairy products come from, how farmers care for their animals. And the biggest thing is just to connect consumers with farmers.
Yeah. So people can come in. The fair is, although it's been a little different, it's generally 13 days-ish, right?
Yep.
And over that 13 days, the idea is that we ask farms to volunteer to send their cows to us so that those cows will have their babies during the fair, and trying to have 3 a day, or 2 for the first couple of days, and then 3 a day for the entire fair, so that an average person who doesn't live next to a farm can experience what a farmer does every single day, like sees the miracle of life and is part of that system, so that when they have questions about where their food comes from, they can actually sit there and engage with people who either are actively in farming or attached to it, right? Agricultural business professionals that are there to support them. What is, like, give me a story or two of, like, what's been the best thing about the birthing center? Like,
the best thing about the birthing center is the people that come back year after year that remember you.
It's like a cult following.
It's crazy. The people that take notes on the calves that are born every single year, the ones that have seen it, the ones that have changed their minds because of the experience. So as I said, working in advocacy and outreach, you don't always see instant gratification. You don't see those changed perceptions quickly. At the birthing center, we've had 12 years, and we have changed their minds.
Yeah.
We have one person, her name is Leslie. I love when she comes to visit us every single year because she is our advocate.
You're right. But she didn't start out that way.
She didn't start out that way, but she has genuine questions every year, and she knows where to go. She comes to our exhibit. She follows us all year long. She follows the farmers. She asks farmers. And it's just like that with a lot of followers. So I think that is my favorite part, is that people come and they ask for you by name. They remember the farmers that are represented there. Yeah. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, it's neat. I know I've volunteered there for a decade, and I've certainly learned more about agriculture through that experience, right? And it is amazing the people that come through that tent because they're just average people. They're ordinary folks. And some of the questions we get are comical. I don't mean to make fun of those questions, but if you're in and around it for so long, like you just, certain things seem like common sense, but they're not common sense. So that's what this does, is it allows people to ask those questions. So I'll give you one after you give me one. What's one of the questions that you would scratch your head and be like, boy, I didn't realize you didn't know the answer to that.
How do you know that those were twin calves?
It's pretty interesting because they came out of the same mom, just right then.
Same cow.
Yeah.
Within 10 minutes of each other.
Probably twins. Yeah.
But questions like that allow us to take a step back and realize that what we're doing matters.
Hugely, right? Like, because it's the basics of it. So I've gotten questions like, are all these female cows? Well, only female cows give birth. We don't need to get into the rest of that. But you know what I'm saying, right? Or what about the one that says, like, well, why do the cows have to keep getting pregnant? So we have this conversation over cows or mammals and just like, and sometimes it comes from like a mom.
Yes.
Right? There's a lady there pushing a stroller.
With a child.
Yeah. So it's not like she doesn't understand that if I have a baby, then I produce milk, and then eventually I stop producing milk or I dry off, and then I can start the process over again.
Another favorite question this year was, are these the same calves at the fair that were here last year? Questions like that make us, again, remember why we're doing this, that we are not all lucky enough to work in agriculture.
No. Well, and honestly, what it really does is it gives us the ability that when people are going through the dairy aisle, they just think you get that food from the supermarket. And now you're kind of backing up and you're answering questions so people can engage and feel good about that stuff. They can see that it actually does come from a cow.
Absolutely.
And they can watch cows get milked right after they freshen, right after they give birth. And they can watch the calves grow, right? Because they can see that this mom is 3 or 4 or 5, right? It wasn't so long ago. And we've actually had a cow a calf that was born, a heifer that was born, and then
year one,
she
she came back year 10.
Which is pretty amazing.
And had a calf at the fair.
It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, really, really is. So inside the tent, obviously the big draw, right? You send this text message out that says, hey, sign up for these free text messages. And we see feet and the calves starting to come out. And we have all these people flood to the tent. Hopefully they do it during fair hours. Sometimes they come other times. And then people flood in to see the miracle of life. But there's more to the tent than just that, right?
There is. So I put my teacher hat on throughout the last decade. And
common theme here.
There is. And I know that people learn differently. I learn differently. I have a board of directors that has 13 very different personalities on how they all learn. And so we put that to good use in our exhibit in our tent, where there's a lot of different opportunities to learn. You can sit in the bleachers and listen to somebody talking. You can read signage. You can listen to videos. You can talk to somebody in person. And that's really a goal of ours, is so that everyone has the ability to learn something new in the birthing center.
Yeah. So, and the birthing center isn't just you and the other staff person, Hannah, or just the two of you and the board. There's a bunch of industry volunteers and farmer volunteers.
So it takes over 200 people to put the birthing center together and make it a success every year. We continue to get new people, new volunteers each year that see what we're doing and see the difference it's making, even after 12 years.
Yeah, which is amazing. I don't think the average person would realize to put the tent up, get the bleachers there, get everything so the cows are penned and safe and in a position where they're comfortable enough to give birth. It also takes 200 or so people to make that happen, leading up to it and then through it. Right.
Tens of thousands of man hours.
Yes, literally.
Literally. And you think about it, it takes a year to plan. So the fair gets done on Labor Day. We have a debrief in September with our committees and boards of what went well, what didn't go well. We might take October off. But when you think about it, cows are pregnant for 9 months.
Yeah.
So the cows that are going to give birth next year at the fair in 2025 were bred to give birth at Thanksgiving. So that's the task in November. We will work to secure our farms of what farms are going to provide us those cows after the first of the year, and the process starts. So it's not something that comes together August 1st. We make some decisions. It's a full year process. Lots and lots of people, lots of decisions. And even on site, it's not something where we can just open the door, flip the light switch, hit some buttons, and bleachers come out.
Yeah.
It's a week-long to 10-day process to put it all together.
Because it's basically a parking lot. It's a gravel parking lot right now that
Absolutely.
turns into this center
Mm-hmm.
that cares for the animals. And I think it's pretty interesting when you go back there. I had my mom come to the birthing center, and I think it was a big deal for her because she's never really been that close to it. And when I said to her, this farm has to have 20, 30, 40 ladies pregnant 9
Mhm.
months ago, so that when you get close to the date, we can pick the ones that are in the best position to do it, because some of them might go the day before or
Yep.
2 days before. To get those on a trailer, bring them here so that they're comfortable and not stressed, and give birth, like it's an ordeal. And my mom was like, well, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a little bit. She didn't really realize that. But when she saw it, she continues to talk about it. Like it was an experience in her 70-something years of life that she'll remember forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes a huge impact.
And those are the people that come back
Yeah.
year after year, day after day, week after week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
mean,
cool.
We will see people day after day at the fair.
Yeah.
There's people that this is their family vacation, and they come and they camp at the fair for 6 days, and the birthing center is the first stop they make every day.
Yeah.
I love those people. Those are
Kind
great.
of neat.
There's one family that comes up from Long Island, and the daughter, Catherine, wants to be a veterinarian. She wants to be a veterinarian because of her experience at the birthing center.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's cool. It really is. Yeah, I think the birthing center, the issues team is one of those things, like you said, not direct impact. If you're the farmer who's under stress, you're just so happy that you have people that are helping
Mhm.
you. But you don't really initially see it. The birthing center, you see it. Like you're engaged with customers. You have people buying cheese and milk, right?
Mhm.
And like talking to us and asking questions that are, some of them are basic, right? Like what's the gestation period on a cow? And then some of them are more complicated when you talk about modern large scale dairy practices.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are uncomfortable with some of the things the farmers do, but it gives us a platform to share that the farmers are doing what is really best for those animals and putting the cows and the people and the product in the best position to do well. So instead of just seeing something on YouTube or having some podcast saying, I can't believe they do this, they have the ability to engage with those folks and ask the questions, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what your job is. Like,
Our
that's
our
what you
goal
do.
is to be transparent.
Yeah.
And we are 100% transparent. No questions off limits.
Yeah.
That's why our motto is there's no utter place for the answer.
Utter.
Yeah.
Well, and I think just on that point really quickly, not everything goes well, right? There's a reason why even humans give birth for the most part in hospitals.
Correct.
Right? You can give them at home, you can do all that stuff. But every now and then, even though we do everything we can to make it go smoothly, and the vast majority of them do,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we need to help mom give birth. Sometimes the calves are not in good condition. Sometimes they don't survive. Just is what it is.
And we talk about every single aspect of that.
We don't hide it.
No, we have not hidden a single thing at the birthing center since we started. In fact, year 2, I think it was, we did a C-section on a cow in front of 900 people.
Yeah.
Because we firmly believe in helping people understand why we're doing what we're doing, and that we put our animals first, our employees first, and the land that we live on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's neat. Okay. So we've got this new project, this little
It's
project,
little.
project that the thought started a couple days ago on this
Yeah.
project
Mhm.
called the Mobile Dairy Experience. So the Mobile Dairy Experience in a very small section is a full-size tractor trailer that is built out to promote the dairy industry. But tell me where the idea really started.
Okay, so you've heard my roller coaster ride of how I got to where I am. As part of that, when I was living in St. Louis working in communications, I had no idea what NYAAC was back here in New York. But at the time, my CEO at the time, living in St. Louis, Missouri, was a dairy farmer. And he came to me. He knew a dairy farmer here in New York State. His name's Dale Mattoon. Dale Mattoon was our chairman of NYAAC, and they wanted to build a mobile experience to take to people that couldn't get to the farm. And so Dale here in New York knew my CEO, Michael. They talked and they said, put together a proposal. My CEO, Michael, came to me and said, hey, you were just on one of these experiences when I was traveling the country. Put a proposal together. So I did that. That happened about 12 years ago.
12 years.
12 years. I put that proposal together. We submitted it to Dale and his team and the board of directors back here in New York. I think they were a little overwhelmed. They got numerous proposals from across the country, but they realized as an organization they weren't ready. It was a lot of money, a lot of work. They just weren't ready because at that time, NYAAC was not 501c3. They didn't have a full-time staff. They just weren't ready. So I kept that proposal literally in the same brown envelope that we had received information from Dale. And I kept it. And about 4 years ago, I would say, I dusted that envelope off and I presented it to our board of directors when we were talking about what's our next home run. You know, the birthing center has been doing great. What's next? What's next? And that seems to be a question in agriculture. Maybe it's just society in general is what's next? Yeah. What's next? And so for me, I wanted a grand slam really bad. And so I said, this is it. This is the time. So 4 years ago, we talked about it as a board. It did not come together overnight. It took a lot of discussion, questions, research, investigating, and fast forward to today, and we own a 53-foot tractor trailer that expands into 1,000 square foot exhibit space to talk about New York dairy farming.
Pretty crazy.
It's awesome.
It's pretty crazy. So this trailer, we have been working to get funding because, like you said, it's expensive, right?
It is.
It's 7 figures. It's not a 6-figure deal. It's a 7-figure deal. And we've been working with this thing called DPO as well as farmers and sponsors. To gather enough money to contract, design, and build it. And we're getting ready to launch it here in March of 2025. It had a soft opening at the fair this year. Tell me about DPO. What is DPO?
So New York State dairy farmers, for every 100 pounds of milk they produce on their farm, they put 15 cents into a pot of money. Some of that goes to national dairy promotion. Some of it stays here in New York State. There's a board of directors, Dairy Promotion Order Board, DPO board, that looks at that pool of money and says, how can we promote the dairy industry? Milk is a commodity. And so for each dairy farmer to promote their product, milk, individually, it's not going to happen. And so this pool of money gets distributed to different organizations. NYAAC is one of them, to promote the consumption of milk and to promote what dairy farmers are doing. It's money that is determined every year where it goes. So we submit proposals every year for projects. And we are very thankful that dairy farmers have built and now own this trailer and this experience. So we as an organization have pitched and received successfully funding for probably about 6 years now at NYAAC. And the past 3 or 4 years, a big portion of what we've received has been to go towards this trailer experience.
So it's different than other organizations because it's a state and federal law that the first purchaser of that milk is taking that money out and sending it to the government and to the state, right? So if I produce milk and I sell it to XYZ factory, that factory, when they pay it back to me, takes this piece and sends it up there. So it's not like you can opt in or opt out. And there's some little things around there depending on your size and all that stuff. But for the most part, that's what happens. So those dollars are going for this promotion. We've been working really hard to at least get a big chunk of it so we can honestly say that this is for promoting milk, but it's built and paid for, at least a big portion of it, by dairy farmers.
Correct.
Like they're the ones out there making this happen.
The side of the trailer says driven by New York Dairy. And that is true in a couple capacities. One is because New York State dairy farmers own this. Yeah. They are the ones that have paid for this. And that is, again, why I love my job. Yeah. Is because I worked for them, I work with them, and now I promote for them. And, you know, it's driven by New York Dairy because that's the passion behind the entire project is promoting the industry.
So you get this tractor that pulls this full van trailer like you see there. It's got all these details on it. It's pretty cool. We'll hopefully throw some of those pictures up on the screen so people can see it, get a link to the website. But you set it up, right? It's not like you just hit the air brakes and this thing's ready, right? It takes,
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Tell me about setup.
Yeah. So none of this entire project has come easy.
No.
It has not come quickly. Like I said, it's taken years to build this, from idea, more than a decade, to conception and to being at events now. So when we pull it into an event, it takes probably 2 to 3 hours to set it up.
Several people too.
Several people. It is definitely at least a 2-person job, 3 hours.
Yep.
And it all works with hydraulics. So think about a camper. When you'd have a bump out on a camper, it's very similar. So the sides of the trailer that you see driving down the road actually becomes the roof. So the sides fold up, then the stage comes down, and then the sides, the bump outs on both sides come out. And then your entrance is actually the back of the trailer. Mm-hmm. So if you're following this trailer driving down I-90, you're going to see a beautiful brown cow, a Jersey cow, looking at you. When you get to an event, that becomes the roof. Our stage comes down and we have stairs. You enter the back of the trailer to work through the experience, and then you exit at the front of the trailer.
So just because you and I know it, so I walk into the back of the trailer, right? And I can look right in front of me, and then to my left and to my right, and it's probably maybe 8 or 10 feet to my left, 8 or 10 feet to my right. It's pretty big.
Correct.
And take me through like I'm going through. So I walk in and I turn right, and what do I see in that first bay?
The very first thing we talk about is dairy farms. We talk about the farmer and we talk about the cows, because nothing we do in New York State dairy can be talked about without talking about the cows, how we care for them, the employees that care for them, what we do on the farms, and more importantly, why. Yeah. Why do we house calves the way we do? What do we feed our cows, and why? Why is corn important? Why is soybeans important? Why do we build barns the way that we do? Why aren't cows on pasture? All of those key topics and frequently asked questions that we hear are covered in that first section. We start with the farm. Yep. We say, welcome to the farm, because nothing we do can happen without starting it right on the farm.
Right. And you want to get to the experience that when you get in there, you want folks to see that, like, there's a method to the madness. There's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. And comfortable animals produce well, right? So everybody says, well, you're doing all this thing and it's not negative. But what this first section is saying, or it's not positive, that what the first section is saying is, look, there's a method behind the madness. There's a reason why we do it. When you look at a dairy barn, there's a reason why it sits there. There's a reason how the cows move. There's a reason why we design the beds the way we do. There's a reason why we design the feed the way we do, etc. So then I'm there and I turn around and I look on the back of the wall. And what's on that back of the wall?
So we talk about sustainability and technology on the farm. Sustainability has been a buzzword for years. Yeah. And so in our experience, we want to talk to people about why. Why is this important? Why is it a buzzword? Why do we have to be sustainable? What does that mean as a farmer? And not just in the barn, but in the field. So how are we farmers caring for the land in order to be here for generations to come? Why is that important? And so we talk about that in each season. How are farmers caring for the land in summer, spring, fall, and winter? We talk about the manure cycle. We love manure. So
everybody loves cow poop. Yeah.
Cows produce 2 things on the farm. They produce milk and manure.
Yep.
And as dairy farmers, they love both of them.
Yeah.
So we talk about and show why manure is important and how farmers utilize it to the best of their ability. And then we move into technology and how technology is used. And this is going to move into a bigger conversation when we talk careers. Yeah. It's not just about milking cows anymore.
There's so much more that goes into it, right?
So when I was 12 years old and I was living on the dairy farm and I wanted nothing to do with agriculture, it's because I thought I just had to milk cows.
Right. That's what farmers do.
That's all I knew how to do is feed calves and milk cows. So in this technology section, we talk about robotic milking. We talk about how we utilize cameras in our barn and how farmers utilize cameras for the safety of their people and their animals. We have an actual fiberglass cow in there that you can put a milking machine on. So for me, it was incredibly important to show the realistic side of everything in here. and in this experience. And so this fiberglass cow is real. You hit a button and you hear a vacuum just like you would on a farm in the milking house or in the milking parlor, and you put a milking machine on and it stays on. It stays on until she's done milking.
Yep.
In this experience, pretty short, but it showcases the realistic aspect of milking a cow.
As real as you can get.
Yeah, we're not milking it by hand.
No.
We are not milking it and water is coming out. I get it. Those are all needed. Those displays
Sure.
are all needed. For us traveling down the road, I want it real.
Yeah.
And so it's hooked up. It's a little loud. That's what a milking parlor is. And you see it.
Yeah.
And so it was really important as we were building this experience for people to see something, do something, listen to something, feel something in every single one of these sections. So again, it goes back to put my education hat on.
Yeah.
How do people learn?
Right.
So when we built this, we took into consideration the different ways people learn.
Yeah. So across from that, when you got the butt end of the cow there, and on the backside there's a big TV, and there's this cool little light wall.
Yeah.
And then there's a little wall on the side that's got some products. But what is that doing there? What are we doing there?
Okay, so we've started with learning all about the farm.
Yep.
We're sustainable. We're caring for the land. We're caring for our animals. We're using technology. And we're milking the cows. That's what we just did with our technology. And now where's the milk going to go?
It's pretty amazing, right? Because you think about it, it comes out of the animal,
Mm-hmm.
then it has to go somewhere.
Yes.
No one really thinks about it. They think it all goes into silos because that's the word that everybody
Yeah.
thinks. And some of it does, but
And then it just shows up at the grocery store.
It just shows up at the grocery store.
And it's just always milk, right?
Always milk.
That is all they produce.
That's it.
Which is right. That's all they produce is milk, but the milk can make so much more. And that's what we talk about in this next section is the steps that it takes to make milk,
Yeah.
but the steps that it takes to make other dairy products. And
Yeah.
so it's a very interactive component. Kids and adults of all ages enjoy it, talking about the 8 steps that it takes to get milk from the farm to the consumer in 48 hours. One of the things that I really liked as I was doing research on what these different sections would be, I was talking to a dairy farmer and he said, Eileen, don't forget to talk about all the other products.
Yeah.
And he used the title of This is Dairy Too. And that's what's showcased on the wall is things that you don't think of. The milk chocolate, the whey protein. So the things that you might not think are dairy products can't
Cottage
be
cheese,
here without dairy cows.
So many things.
So again, it starts with the dairy farm and it starts with the dairy cow.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat. You guys should check it out. But like it goes from the farm and it gets chilled and then it gets sampled and it goes into a truck and the truck delivers it to a plant and then it gets pasteurized and homogenized and then it gets pushed into some other process to make these other pieces before it gets put into a refrigerated place so then it can make it to the store. And that whole process is a relatively short period of time.
It's quick.
Yeah.
So for fluid milk, it's less than 48 hours from the time it leaves the farm to the time it gets to your store.
Yeah.
And it's a raw product. It's healthy and for you. It's safe for you.
Yeah.
And this display shows each one of those steps.
Yeah.
We talk about the safety of it. We talk about the testing of the milk at each of the stops, and how it gets to yourself.
Yeah. So you go into the back corner and you've got some TVs.
A few of them.
Like a lot of them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
And one of the things I love about that is it talks about, similar to what you just said, agriculture isn't just the person milking the cows, right? There's lots of opportunities in and around there. And you can see some of that stuff there, right? You can see nutritionists and vets and welders and mechanics and tractor drivers and seed salespeople and insurance folks. Like there's to be in and around and support agriculture. It's more than just like milking the cow.
Yeah.
Or spreading manure.
Absolutely. So when I look at the roller coaster that I took to get to where I am, I saw a lot of careers. I was part of a lot. I talked to a lot of people. And that's really where this section came from.
Yeah.
Is that I wanted people, not just kids or students, I wanted people to understand that agriculture is more than just cows and plows.
Yeah.
That it takes mechanics, it's technology, it's robotics, it's scientists, it's research, it's developing new products.
Yeah.
That it's more than just on the farm. On the farm is incredibly important. We still need people to do all of that. But I want people to understand that agriculture is only 1% of us that's feeding 100% of us. And it includes all those people that it takes.
Nobody really thinks about it. Like lots of folks have heard that 1 or 2% of the population feeds 98 or 99%. But if you sit down for half a second and take your beverage of choice and just think through that, it's absolutely amazing.
It is.
And in the U.S., like you and I were talking about traveling, in the U.S., we take it for granted because you can get food and drink just about anywhere in the U.S. relatively quickly.
We
like
have a very
super fast.
healthy, affordable, accessible food supply.
Yeah. Yeah. Just amazing. Amazing. Okay. So we go from those TVs, which are cool. You can press buttons and watch short videos and put some headphones on and be part of something. And then across is our last thing before you go out. And it's this pretty cool little section. And it's like a freezer, like a real freezer or like cool case, like a refrigerator that you would get. And there's some products there. And what are we doing there?
So I wanted people to understand the last thing they see in our experience is going to be the first thing they see when they go to the grocery store. And that's the dairy aisle. So we have 3D printed products that you can barcode scan just like you are at self-checkout to learn more about that product. Yeah. A short video talks about the health benefits. So when you scan eggnog, you can understand, you know what? Eggnog's not so bad for you. It's good. It's got dairy products in it. You can scan the whipped cream. What can you use whipped cream for, and how do you use it, and why is it good for you?
And it's interactive, right? Like there's that little gun where you
just
like point at the cart and you press the button and it sees it and it beeps and you get that sound, and then you look at the TV screen there and it plays a little video that educates you about that product.
Yes. So again, in every section, you can see something, do something, read something, listen to something, interact with something, to hopefully when you walk out that exit door, you take something away from you that at the end of the day, farmers are great people.
Right.
And they care for the people on their teams. They care for the animals they are on their farms. They care for the land they live on and the products they produce.
Yeah. It's really is. It's amazing. And I know that you had a huge part in making it happen. Right. And no one can say thank you enough. And it beat the living daylights out of you for 6 or 8 months. And there's still a lot of learning to do. Right. But realistically, you engage, bring that somewhere, someone comes in the back, and whether they're doing it by themselves or they have a trained person, they're going to understand what goes into it. They're going to understand the technology. They're going to understand the process. They're going to understand the careers, and they're going to understand that last step, which is what they think is the only step. A lot of people, like, I go buy ice cream. That's pretty cool. They don't understand what happened behind the scenes, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was not, like you said, it was not a process that came together overnight. It was not an easy one. It came together with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of people.
Yeah.
From the time we signed our contract to the time we built, I think that is one key piece that people don't understand how quick that was.
Yeah.
From April to August, we built the whole thing. 3 years, we researched it, we figured out what we wanted in it. The actual build, it was 4 months, and so to have it on the road at our state fair, that was the ultimate experience, and that's what we had to do. As you mentioned, we had a soft launch this fall, had four or five events, and we look forward to perfecting it and kicking it off and hitting the road
on Dairy Day,
on National Ag Day.
National Ag Day, which is March
18th, 2025. It's going to hit the road, and it's going to travel all across New York State to schools, colleges, universities, fairs, festivals, and everywhere in between.
Heated and air conditioned, so despite the weather.
It is.
Yeah. And then even on the outside, there's some TVs there, so if there's people waiting to kind of go through, there's some interactive stuff on the outside, and it's got some pretty cool details, and the committee and yourself have thought through how that can change over time to continue to stay relevant, so it's an amazing project. So one of the questions that was asked by certain people was, well, will anybody want this thing to come to their place? And I know like we just started opening it up to saying, we did a little work beforehand, but would you be interested in having this come there? And tell me a little bit about that.
So when I asked the board of directors of NYAAC, what does success mean to you when it comes to the mobile dairy experience? One of the responses was that we have a waiting list. We plan to be on the road for 40 weeks in 2025. We have over 145 requests, ideas
already
in less than a month.
Yeah.
So now the exciting part and the hard part is going through every single one of those, but we're going to look at the impact. Where can this make the greatest impact? Because at the end of the day, this is bought and owned by New York dairy farmers to help promote the New York dairy industry, the dairy products, and what they do on their farm. So we want to make the best bang for the buck, make the greatest impact. And it will be everywhere from Plattsburgh to Buffalo to Long Island and everywhere in between.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing the whole state still in the process of raising some funds to keep it going as we try to figure out what the next several years look like. And it's a New York project, but we could see it on the Albany steps, but we could also maybe see it in DC sometime. But it's really something for the industry. It's supporting animal agriculture and dairymen specifically.
It is. So when 3-4 years ago, when my board of directors said, "What's next, Eileen?" And I said, "This is our grand slam. It doesn't happen overnight." I really think that as we move into 2025, we're going to prove why it's our grand slam.
Yeah, it's cool. It really is cool. Well, you and I started a little while ago talking about this. You were extraordinarily hesitant to come on the podcast. I feel like you're doing it as a favor to me, and I love you and thank you for doing that.
Anytime.
And you're going to have to come on again because it really wasn't that bad, was it? Was it that bad?
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's
not
really
that bad.
cool. And I think what you're doing makes a difference. What you do matters. The advocacy that you do, like the strong leadership that you give to the agricultural community is awesome, and your story's awesome. And I'm excited to be your friend.
Thanks. And I'm only as good as I am because of the people I work for.
Yeah.
It truly comes back to my board and people in the industry and the farmers that they are why I do what I do.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, you'll come back soon.
Yes, sir.
Promise. Maybe with
Promise.
maybe with a quilt.
Maybe with a quilt.
All right, wave to the camera. Say everybody bye.